Hey everybody, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program RP-0. We are out on the launch pad today with a all-up test of our new interplanetary vehicle. This was supposed to be an uncrewed test, but adding a controller core later caused some very interesting issues that would not let us have actual control for whatever reason. I've actually seen this bug before. If you have a crewed part be your root part, it wants crew, and if not, it just will not give you control, even if you have enough computer cores per tonnage to give you avionics, which is really upsetting because rerouting and redoing everything was just a whole lot of trouble and would put this test outside of the realm of when we can still get this unit into manufacture in time for successful deployment for our next Mars window. So, novice pilot Lewis Carr has volunteered to take this on a single lap around the moon and verify its viability as a platform. Now, this is against all advice, and well, he's a brave soul. We'll put it at that. But the rocket is a DN5, the 3-booster variant, which is going to struggle even to get this massive amount of cargo stripped down as it might be into orbit. But it is up to the task. I've run a simulation or two just to verify this, which is also how I know about the computer, the control issues. No big deal there. Anyway, I guess we're ready to go ahead and start our test run. So SAS is on, throttle is set to full, inclination with the moon is climbing, so we need to get this underway. Ignition sequence start. Ignition. We're good. Clamps off. Fantastic. Clamps are off and away. 1.74 off the launch pad, which is screaming fast, especially for this vehicle, especially considering how hard a time it's going to have just to get into orbit. So I am recording this before I have posted the last episode asking for name suggestions for our new vehicle, so I haven't seen them yet, or rather you haven't even made them yet. Weird time dilations going on here, but maybe I'll address them in post and we'll have the official name by the time this episode goes to YouTube. Here's hoping anyway, but we're already at 250 meters per second. We need to start dialing this in and rolling back the throttle before we hit max Q and end this test and poor Lewis Carr before we ever have a chance to make sure that it works first. So I'm going to get this thing into orbit and I will pick all of you up there. So the rest of this launch was a pretty standard affair, seeing that this is a little beyond what this DN5 is actually rated to do. So we did have to adjust our flight profile significantly enough. Basically lob really high, because when the boosters separate, the core stage would barely have .1 TWR. At least that was my thoughts from the VAB, although it's looking like we're at .05 already. So it was barely over .01, but we would also need the entirety of the B upper stage here. There's booster SEP there, down and away, fairing SEP are off, and we can jettison the rest of the launch escape system and use our action group to deploy the solar panels. And now we have a solid look on a more finalized version of this vehicle, which by the way, voting for the name is still going on in the comments of the last video. If you have a suggestion for a name or want to vote for your favorite name, please go back and do that after you finish watching this episode, of course, obviously. So anyway, there will be quite a lot of pitch above horizon here, as we are going to try to keep our time to apoapsis something reasonable. We still have 9 minutes of burn time from the B upper stage, which is only going to deliver to us 2,277 meters per second of delta V at a very impressive .33 TWR once this core stage burns out. There it is, and separated away. A solid light on the HG3. And then I was just going to lay on the thrusters, but I decided instead to pump the fuel forward into our new vehicle for its RCS for no real reason. We could have spent the fuel quite easily. I did go a bit into physics warp while again pitching almost 45 degrees above horizon, just trying to drag that time to apoapsis higher. Although I did forget about my relative inclination to the moon there for a little bit, so we will offset and try to get that down to you know, somewhere around the 0.2 something degree mark. Not that it truly matters. We don't have to rendezvous with anything or even be very accurate. We just need the gravity assist to slingshot us back to Earth so that we can pick up a whole bunch of speed. And there's our time to apoapsis actually falling negative. We are descending back to Earth, but we'll just maintain nearly 50 degrees pitch above horizon to try to work some of that into a positive number, and there it is, topping about 40 seconds or so after a minute or so spent in 4 times physical acceleration. And the HG3 stage is spent, so we will light up our Block 5 Soviet engine. I did make some adjustments to the real plume configs, and while not perfect, still looks a whole hell of a lot better than it did, seeing as how it actually looks like it has some power behind it, although the engine lighting mod seems to be doing some funny things with our structural fairings there. And we'll just round out the rest of the orbit on this main engine. So I will very briefly turn you over to old me post-circularization. Alright. That's an orbit, 406 by 160. Not a very clean orbit, but an orbit nonetheless. And we still got 3,400 left in our primary, which is enough to transfer to the moon. So we'll go ahead and get that plotted out as soon as KSP decides to... There we go. Good, KSP. Yeah, right at our ascending, descending node. Now it looks like it's going to be a little bit before, but we'll try to optimize this as best we can. 4 minutes of runtime on our main engine. So this can actually be probably the quickest lunar transfer we've ever seen. Okay, hey, that gives us a good bump in speed, puts us on an impact course. Can we lighten that up just a little? Yeah. Nope, because that's not an encounter, apparently. So we'll just flip around the other side. There it is. And bring that back in. Oh, boy. Fiddling with nodes. All right. Well, we'll touch this up on RCS when it becomes time. I would like to do free return. 3,100 meters per second is our total burn in T-minus 20 seconds. Good enough. I'll take it. So, solars are out. What is our electric draw looking like? We are staying topped and charging. And we've got like 200 days of life support. I believe I checked that earlier. Yeah, 208 days. I'd like to bring this down in a condition heavy to take into consideration the absolute worst case scenario of what would happen if we brought it back as fully fueled as it could possibly be. Now, stock KSP telling us our estimated burn time is 5 minutes 47 seconds. Impossible, because our total runtime on our engine is 4 minutes and 3 seconds. So we're going to depart just a little before the 2-minute mark. Let's get ourselves angled into this node. Obviously need to adjust these thruster ports, configure their axes a little bit more. There's the moon. There she is. So I should probably move that engine to its own stage, just so I can see it. It is atop about 1 million thrusters. But we will start our ullage proceedings. It says we are very stable. What is our time? 1 minute 54. Let's light it up. The new plume, you will have noticed, very much affixed. And not perfect, but infinitely better. I did kind of dial it on the ground without taking into consideration the slider that Smokescreen gives you to see what things look like in vacuum, full well knowing that this engine will only be used in a vacuum. So we are off to the moon, and poor Lewis Carr here is well, earning medals left and right for volunteering for this absolutely suicidal mission. And the good news is it does not look like we've experienced any boil off from our engine or from our fuel tank thus far. That is a service module tank with radiators to assist in keeping the cryogenic state of liquid oxygen as such. Is also isolated from the rest of the vehicle because it looks cool. No other reason. I'm sure I discussed that already. But anyway, let's get this rather quick burn in the record books and get this test finished out, shall we? So I did speed this up both in post, and I did use a little bit of 4x physical acceleration just to kind of speed through it a little bit. The Block 5 engine performed flawlessly, not because it lacks a test flight config, but because our research team is absolutely phenomenal at doing all the things they do, while also trying to grab a screenshot and keep an eye on our liquid oxygen boil off. But the trip out to the moon was very predictable and pretty easy to manage. So here's Altbeam. Oh, that's real close. Real close. 3.1 meters per second it shut down. We're going to try to top this off with RCS. And if we can make this just perfect as it is without further interruption, oh, that would be absolutely fantastic. Let's kill that so we can get that out of the way. 43 kilometers. That's good enough. Let's leave it there. RCS off. Perfect. That is awesome. 361 meters per second left in the fuel. And then, of course, we've got RCS we can maneuver on. Until then, let's open this up so we can keep an eye out for boil off and go ahead and warp on out to the moon, which is, I don't even know how many days away. Let's check the map. That would be a good thing to do. 5 days. 7 days. 5 days to encounter, 2 more days to Earth apoapsis. Let's double check our alarm clock. Yes, 6 days until we hit Jupiter. So we're probably going to be a little behind on that launch window, but Jupiter with its massive gravity well, it probably won't matter a whole lot. Electric charge, staying topped off. Perfect. Where's liquid oxygen? 5999 and staying put. We do have some boil off, but it is super decimal. I think we can deal with those margins, all things considered. Although the resupply pods will take a little bit of reconfigurating to get all of that niceness sorted out. Our moon apoapsis is 7 million, so yeah, I probably should have checked for an impact a whole lot earlier than this, but, you know. Okay, well, we might have to launch to Jupiter. I don't want to miss it by a whole week. So I guess we will just have to leave the conclusion of this test for a future episode. So let's all wish pilot Lewis Carr here, the bravest Kerbal in all of the space program, good luck, and have a safe mission, and we all hope you return home in one piece, preferably alive, and with an intact spacecraft. Alright, everyone, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really do appreciate it, and I will see all of you in the next one. So, until then, see you later.